I'm Alasdair Taylor. I play mandolin in Elephant Sessions, and this is Good Stuff in Between podcast.
If I could only read your mind with superhuman power, life would be a breeze sometimes. The good stuff's in between the lines. My thoughts and my feelings still tell 1,000 lies.
From early days of violin lessons in the Highlands to sell-out shows across Scotland, the UK, Europe, Australia and the US, the multi-award winning Elephant Sessions are now one of the world's most respected bands, bringing their own brand of fusion tunes to new audiences wherever they go, and see them grace magazines such as the illustrious Rolling Stone. They first burst onto the music scene with their critically acclaimed debut album, The Elusive Highland Beauty, following it up with the progressively more dance-like All We Have Is Now, What Makes You, and most recently, For the Night. Now, after a deserved break, they are gearing up for the start of a new UK tour, festival season and dates abroad, including, as you'll discover in today's podcast, some exciting news for fans in America, all of which is happening alongside the launch of their first self-made music festival, Black Isle Calling, in September. I caught up with founding member and master of the mandolin, Alasdair Taylor, to find out more about the festival, their plans for the months ahead, but also, for those trying to navigate their own way through the music scene, what exactly made Elephant Sessions the tour de force they have become and so richly deserve to be. Well, welcome to episode 10, would you believe? Good stuff. I'm delighted to be joined by Alasdair. Big fan of Elephant Sessions since I first stumbled across you guys at the Hepkill Festival many years ago, and doing the tent there, and I don't think I've ever jigged so much at one gig.
Good. I'm glad that's what we do it for. We love making people dance.
On your website, Rolling Stones magazine, see you almost weaponise music with the way you thrash your way through that.
We use that quote, and we've used that quote for probably 6 or 7 years, just because it's Rolling Stone. So I have to pinch myself like that.
How did you feel when you saw that print or online?
We played at a festival in France, in Lorient, which is like a massive inter-Celtic kind of folk festival. I think it was straight after that they did this whole article about how we weaponized our instruments and folk music and all this, and that was the quote we've taken from it. But yeah, there's an article and there's a photo of us in it and stuff, and I know it's mad really that Rolling Stone was one going to write about us, but writing about folk music at all. I guess it shows how far I guess the genre's come back again.
You guys also have been sort of pioneers, part of that, drawing your inspirations from others, I'm sure. But was it 2012 you got together?
Yeah, 2012-ish.
Although a Galler is quite a long story too. I mean, you knew Ewan, I think, from school, was it?
Yeah, so me and Ewan, I kind of grew up together playing music. We were both in the same fiddle class, actually. I played fiddle when I was a kid. So we were both in the same fiddle class, met. Ewan must have been 10, 11 years old. We played in sort of youth music kind of classes and groups together. And then ended up going to Face Ross, did a sort of like a holiday camp thing over the October school break, and met the drummer Greg at that. Was in the same kind of group work class and things with him. And the three of us then played together in a different band, and then for kind of ceilidhs and all these sorts of things, you just to make a bit of money from music before we all went off to uni and things. It was at uni I met two of the other lads that joined, and that was when it kind of, we had come up with the name Elephant Sessions as a trio when I was playing guitar, but it was at that point we kind of moved from more of a ceilidh and events type band to more of a, right, we're going to take this down the performance route and write our own music and write our own tunes and aim for kind of festivals and venue shows and stuff as well, making an album and things.
So at that point, what was it? Just a bunch of mates jamming, making music with a plan, or had you been able to source some advice and help at that point?
It was definitely a bunch of mates who enjoyed each other's company, and like having a laugh and having a drink and making music together was fun. I think quite quickly we all knew we wanted to gig with it and make it a thing and write our own music. We're all quite interested by the prospect of not just playing other people's tunes but writing our own melodies and tunes as well. I was doing music at uni, so I wanted to finish uni with a kind of a band and ideally an album. So that the plan was loose, but I guess in that sense there was a rough plan. And I think I must have finished in like the June and of 2014, and the first album came out in the September. So did all right. We recorded it in my final year with a platform to build upon. That was the kind of idea: have a band and an album. And then obviously it took quite a while to make a job or career out of it, a good few years, but it meant that we were gigging with something behind us at that point. We had this record to push, and we could send that to festivals and come up with tours, all this kind of stuff.
I think it's quite nice that you describe it as you did all right, because straight away it's up and coming the trads.
I do remember that being a big surprise, to be totally honest with you. So much so I think we didn't all even go to the awards because we were like, there's no way we're going to win that. Not a chance. But no, I more mean all right as in, I guess, making money or making a career. I think at that point people still had other jobs, or I think some of the boys might still be in higher education. So I mean, I think at that point as well, after that award, we kind of thought, right, well, we should definitely go for this then. Like, we should definitely push for this, because there's obviously maybe something in this, the seal of approval type thing of like, yeah, this is okay.
But when that fusion did happen and you realised you had this specialness, this desire to do your own thing, was it a conscious decision at that time as well to try and redefine trad in terms of there's synths in there, there's bass in there, there's guitars, there's fiddles, what going on?
We knew we wanted to write our own stuff. We were really influenced by bands like Prop Number 5, Peacock Fairies, Sugarlifty, Treacherous Orchestra, and Martin Bennett. So people like that who had, I guess, redefined folk music and genres themselves, and a lot of the time had written their own tunes. And we really wanted to write our own music. I think there was, because the first album was a lot more acoustic, I guess, a lot more folky and acoustic. I think we always knew the sort of direction we wanted to go in, but I guess it maybe took a bit of time to find our way and also maybe have the confidence to do it. I mean, I think it's the last track on the first album. It's called Say It Like the Boys, and that is just totally different from the rest of the record. Like, that's got already synths on it and all this kind of stuff. And I guess that was a hint at where we maybe wanted to go, whereas some of the rest of the album had, like, it was, apart from maybe the odd track, it had mainly acoustic guitar, it had upright bass on it, not even electric bass on most of it. So yeah, I guess that was a hint. To say we wanted to kind of redefine would be a complete overstatement. I don't think there was ever a thought of that, but I know we all grew up playing and listening to folk music, but we also all loved a vast array of other genres, electronic and dance music, and funk and rock being the kind of main things. And I guess that's, the more we got to know each other and grew as musicians, the more we wanted to involve these other genres or things from these other genres that we thought would work and make it more fusion. I guess that would be what we say about the first album being much more folky with hints at things, and then we wanted to make it much more of a cohesive fusion, which I think it was the second album that really kind of started that. That was the one that I guess we built from, and then the last two have been a lot more electronic, a hell of a lot more electronic actually. And now, yeah, I feel we're quite, the sound we've kind of got to, I think if we really think about it, is sort of what we're looking back on, what we would have wanted, synths and electric guitars and kind of all these extra sounds and samples, just because it's what we always kind of say, we write music that we would want to walk into a tent at a festival and bounce around to, and something that we think would be fun. And having all these, I guess, dance elements, electronic elements and stuff might, well, hopefully, as you said, make people dance at something like a festival, even if it is a folk festival, but also can cross over into non-folk festivals.
Something that I've always admired about Elusive, though, even though there's no lyrics, it still feels there's stories in there. It feels like there's a lot of, if not emotion, certainly a lot of life coming through the music, meanders up and down in terms of tone and how it connects with you and makes you think. I recall speaking to you after one gig, we talked about there was a track which spoke to your time in Newcastle, for example, and I'd imagine everybody else has got elements of what's in their head to that too. So from there to the kind of music you're making now, has it always drawn on life experience, or is it all just came together with music?
You're right. You're absolutely right. In the first album, particularly, I guess, because I think, people talk about this difficult step in an album. And I think the part of that is because the first album is the accumulation of your, I guess, life's work. So, like, there was tunes that, like, some of us maybe had written years and years before that we'd made to work with everyone and with the band. Whereas as soon as you start writing the second, third, fourth, you're starting from literally zero again. So I think that first album definitely had tunes. As you said, there was one from Newcastle where I think it's C tune you're talking about, where I'd been sat down next to the river that flows out. It was a late one night, and I just kind of the next day I sort of came up with this tune. And there's inspiration all around you in that sense, and particularly I guess where we're from in the Highlands is very beautiful, and there's a lot of kind of scenery, and we've kind of, it sounds really cliche, but taking inspiration from that. I think the more we've gone on, the more the inspiration comes from probably more experiences and music around us. So we might be in X place and hear a band and go, wow, I absolutely love that particular rhythm, or that sound they used or something like that, and then you can maybe make your own version of that, and then that's a whole track could stem from that. And it's probably less story driven now. I think the first album, there's definitely tracks on there you can say, oh, what's that about, and I could tell you a story, and even some of the second record, whereas I think the last two definitely have been more, some maybe of stuff on the road, but definitely more influenced by music we hear on the road, I guess, at festivals, because we're not around as much, we're away a lot more, so we're kind of taking inspiration from what we see here on the road much more than we were.
As you've made your way, what were some of the big decisions that you've taken in terms of, do you just work amongst yourselves? Do you bring in management, other kind of fixers for different elements? What does it take to make that leap from a bunch of guys with some early success to being a band who's in demand? It's not just Scotland and UK, but abroad now. You've done Europe, you've done Australia more times than I can count, either across to North America, for example. I always imagine as a team, but that's an assumption on my part, so I'm curious to know for other people who might be listening, what sort of things they might need to think about.
It is very much DIY to begin with, and I think that must be the case for the majority of bands. You're kind of doing everything yourself, and we were booking our own shows and turning up to venues kind of probably pretty unprepared, really, when you actually think about it. And you're driving yourself around, all these sorts of things. And then I guess the first big decision we made was we basically started employing our own sound engineer and taking them on the road with us. A guy, Julian Batten, who was with us for years and years, and recorded albums 2 and 3 as well. We worked with Julian for a long time, and that was a big decision, because obviously that you're paying someone else. The pie slice is getting smaller, and when you're not making very much money, that is a huge decision. But it completely changed kind of how we tour. It meant that we were turning up, we were much more prepared. We had someone professional who was there to make us sound great. Instead of someone or anyone, it could be who worked in a venue. You don't know what they're going to be like, and they don't know what you want to sound like or anything like that. So yeah, that was a big one. And then the second big one, I guess, in the same vein, would be lighting engineer, which again is another person you're paying. But we've been working with Gary Ebdy for it was 6-7 years-ish, something like that now. Who still works with us to this day, and that has been incredible. He's phenomenal, and one of the kind of main things we get after shows is about our light show, because he's just unbelievable. And Gary's worked with all sorts of acts, like Biffy Clyro and Franz Ferdinand and all sorts, and I just think he's absolutely unbelievable. And him and our current sound engineer, Greg Smart, the two of them as a crew are just, they do so much for us. And it's so much more than just doing sound and lights. It's everything advanced shows and making sure when we turn up as a band, we can focus on being a band. And I think that's the big thing. When you've not got this, you're doing so much more than just being musicians. And there's still lots of that, of course, but they take a lot of kind of, I guess, the stress of all that away, which is great. And we know we're going to look and sound how we want, no matter where the venue is, because we have these people. And then as for another team, we've been working with an agent Lisa Whittick from Active Events for many years now, and she's sort of, I usually call her live manager because she's a sort of, she is our agent, but she also does a lot more than that. So between us and her, there's a lot of kind of the management stuff done. So we don't have an actual manager, but she kind of does a lot of that. So, and within that, she has a team of people who work with her. So the team around us has definitely grown, and I guess that only makes life easier, but also, of course, comes at more of a cost. So you have to kind of build this gradually, I guess. It's taken, 12 years for us to get to the point where we have this full team in place around us. And then abroad-wise, the same thing. You know, we tend to have an agent for a territory. So we've got a US agent, Australian agent, certain countries in Europe, or groups of countries in Europe we've got an agent for. I guess, you know, you turn up at things like maybe showcase events or festivals and you meet people, and it's very much like, you know, how maybe you or I met. You know, you come up and speak after a show or whatever, and you get chatting, and then they might get in touch with Lisa, who represents us, and it kind of goes from there. But yeah, I think we've been incredibly lucky with the sort of team we built around us, and they've all worked for us for quite a while. So it's like a lot of loyalty there, and yeah, I feel like it works very well. But it does take a while to get like all of that in place for sure. There was a long periods of time where you're really struggling through stuff that you have no idea what you're doing with. The amount of kind of mistakes you make along the way before getting people who know what they're doing is a lot.
You mentioned meeting people and the importance of discussions, but you've also shown some nous. You got the Belhaven grant at one time, would have probably enabled you would have been able to tour perhaps. I think last year you were over at Lomax.
Yep.
And I saw that was partly funded through PRS and Creative Scotland. How important are those interventions, and do they approach you? Do you approach them?
Massive. I mean, these funds and funding bodies are genuinely game changers in bands' careers. And things like, well, for example, so PRSF, Creative Scotland, people like this, like, they have allowed us and so many others to go and do certain kind of showcase events like Womex or South by Southwest in Texas. We did as well. And Creative Scotland, you know, have helped fund tour to Australia, fund albums, and you know, you for those things you apply. So there's a Creative Scotland have an open fund application, and PRSF for the ones abroad. There's specific showcases under their international showcase fund. So South by and Womex fall under that, and you apply, and it is a very competitive process. But if you can secure some funding, it honestly, it changes things from like, well, because you're not getting paid for a showcase, for example, it changes things from all cost to you to maybe you got your flights paid for, or your flights and accommodation paid, you know, whatever it might be. And it just means these things are much more doable and achievable, and what you can gain out of these things is massive. I mean, we've gained agents around the world from doing showcases, we've gained tours, we've gained shows, we've gained festivals, and these things obviously then are making you money. So if you can help cover some of that initial investment, I guess, like getting some of it funded, it's massive. As for Belhaven, that was a festival. They were doing they were sponsoring, and they were doing the beer and stuff, and it was one of the lads, the bassist, went up to them, and he'd had a few Belhavens himself at that point, and basically just got chatting and was getting the crack. And then I think there was some things that, like, he was like, "Oh, I always wanted my own beer," or, you know, some comment like this, right? And there was a bit of a laugh and stuff, and then I think contacts were swapped, so the band contacted National, and then got in touch maybe a few weeks later. I think the initial idea was to do a beer with them, and just a beer, and then the talks got more and more advanced, and we got our team involved, and I guess people higher up in Belhaven got involved, and they came up with this idea of, it was called the Belhaven Award for Innovation, was it? And yes, they awarded us a fund, a grant, and we did a beer as well. And because of that, we got to do some cool things. We went out to New York Tartan Week with them and played there, and went and played at their 300th anniversary. We played at their brewery, and yeah, we went many times to the brewery in the process of making the beer. So it was a very, very cool opportunity, and that ran for maybe 3 or 4 years. Did it? I can't remember. Up to maybe COVID sort of time, I think. So I think there's a couple bands. Alice won it after us, Canaris Quintet, so. But that allowed us to buy like a sound desk for touring with, and equipment like that. So it genuinely, these kind of things change the trajectory of a band and how much you can kind of invest in the band, because we were never going to be able to invest that kind of money at that stage in ourselves. So to have someone come along and kind of to do that is so massive.
What kind of reception do you get now? You mentioned these opportunities, and you've been to Australia. When you show up as a Scottish band, playing the kind of music you do, how much expectation is there on you, and how does that translate with the crowds there compared to the crowds here, perhaps?
It does completely depend on the festival or the gig or whatever, I guess. So there's definitely been loads of times where we turn up and almost nobody, or maybe nobody, knows us, and the festival's kind of taken a punt because they've been put onto us by an agent or whatever, and they've gone, oh, that sounds quite cool, and booked us. So the actual people at the festival maybe have absolutely no idea, or maybe the odd few googled us before going or whatever, but generally speaking, no one knows. That's almost the most fun, because you're kind of watching, you're like, right, we're going out there to win people over. And it might start this small, and by the end you're kind of you're drawn in a big crowd, and it's just so fun seeing kind of people first of all looking at the stage, be like, what is this? Like, instrumental, mandolin, fiddle, and then the synths coming out of us. So but watching them sort of change and go, I actually like this. The head goes, the foot starts clapping, and start dancing or whatever. I absolutely love that. And then shows where we maybe are known. It's so fun because you've got your ready-made crowd often. Like, if it's a tour show of our own, the reaction we get from just walking out, like, we are so fired up because it's like people have given you this already, they're ready for this show. And it does, the audiences are different all over the world. I mean, I think, obviously biased, but Scottish audiences are the best. Like, I'm just going to say, we're not the only band that would say that. There's lots of non-Scottish bands that would say that. I think Aussies totally get it. Australia is like quite similar in a lot of ways in that sense. That the audiences are really, really up for it. And France is great. I love playing in France. Brittany, we've had some great shows there. Like, there's generally speaking, kind of crowds are right up for it, because it's a bit more of a, I guess, dancey kind of set. I mean, obviously there has been shows which maybe haven't gone as well. That's always going to be the case over, what has it been, 12 years? But I think we've been really pretty lucky in that, yes, people sort of are open-minded enough to listen and get it. I mean, we're definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it's people generally, I think if you're at a festival, you're there to enjoy yourself, but also discover music a lot of the time. So I think people are open-minded enough to sort of give it a chance. That'll be the one, give it a chance. Instead of just going, what the hell is that, and just leaving. I'm sure there's some of that, but yeah, just hear it out and see if they like it. Because I think if you listen to a set, there's so much different stuff in there, and different genre styles, and there is probably something in there for you if you stay and listen. Even if you don't like folk music, because I think that's one of the biggest things we get told is after is like, oh, I'm not into folk music, but I really enjoyed that. And it's like, well, one, maybe you might be into some folk music, and two, it's music. I think this genre thing, like it does pigeonhole things, where it's like there's so much of music is taken from other genres of music in every genre. So yeah, giving things a chance, I think, is the big thing.
I've been lucky enough to see you in small, sweaty venues, and then this is like Heb or Belgium, I think last year, were just bunkers, Yeah. As soon as the fiddle went up in the air, the place just went easy, So it's great. But I've also led people along, saying, "Oh, come and see these guys."
Yeah.
By the end of they're holding away with their hands in the air. an incredible thing to see. And obviously, there's going to be more audiences get to see that soon. You're back on tour.
Yes, yeah, we're going away in May. It's been a bit of a break. We've had some time off, which is really odd. This is the longest we've had off for a while. But we're back out in May with a UK tour, which will be class. Going to a lot of kind of, I guess, cities we love going to. And then sprinkle in a few kind of maybe new ones, or places we've not been, or cities we've not been back to in a while. So I'm really excited for this. I just kind of want to get back out on the road, to be honest. It feels like it's been a long time. I really miss playing live. So yes, very excited. Less than a month, 3 weeks to go. So
look at some of the dates. May 2nd, Bristol, then you're obviously Cambridge. A couple of dates up in Aberdeen. They're getting spoiled for choice. Two weekends there.
Two weekends.
Back down my hometown, Edinburgh, for the Queen's Hall. And then more or less straight onto festival season, Fest. Then you've got the Reeling, which I didn't make it to last year, but I hear it was great.
I didn't make it last year either. I know some of the boys went along, but it got rave reviews for everyone that I know that went. So I'm very excited about that. And it's us and our pals Nightworks doing Saturday night together. So buzzing about that. That's going to be great. But yeah, you're right. It's like a month of tour and then it's straight into festival season, which is always the best time of the year. So yes, very exciting.
Of course, we've got Hebkilt, and then seems that you've got a brief sojourn to the US, Indiana, yeah, and the likes. What's happening over there? Just more music?
Yes, so we haven't been to States for a kind of tour before, I guess. We've always done festivals, and we've flown out for festivals like that, or maybe the odd weekend of a couple festivals. But we're going over in August. I don't actually think, as we speak, that the tour has been announced yet, but we've got a festival start of August and festival sort of 2-3 weeks in, I think, in Iowa and Milwaukee. They've been announced. So yeah, we're out there for 3 weeks. And I know that, I don't think it's been announced, but I know that there's a tour in between there. So we're going around a bunch of cities and some events in the kind of Midwest over the course of August, which yeah, it'll be class. We've never really kind of been in that area before, and also never toured properly there. It's always just been festivals. So excited to go and kind of see some more of America, of a part we've not seen. So
right, genuine good stuff in between. Exclusive.
It's actually exclusive, yeah.
The big news, I think, with you guys as well, amongst all the stuff we've talked about, we've talked music, we've talked festivals, we've talked beer, we're talking more beer. 13th and 14th of September, you're putting on your own festival, Black Isle Calling, along with our pals at Ironworks, and it's going to be at the Black Isle Brewery itself. Tell us about it.
I know it seems quite mad, really, doesn't it? It's still not really sunk in that we're actually doing it, even though we put the kind of line up and everything out, and it is really, really fun. It's just, yeah, it's mad. It's something that we've wanted to do for the longest time. As I said, I think earlier, me and Ewan have been pals since he was real young, 10 years old. I was 2 years old or whatever. And really early in our friendship, I remember a conversation where Ewan was basically said this kind of idea of he watched on a festival at one point in his life. And I was like, yeah, that'd be amazing. So we were like kids at this point. And, you know, Ewan tried when he was maybe 15 or something to put one on, which obviously didn't work because it wasn't legal. And anyway, there was this idea being in our heads for a long, long time. And it's just grown and grown, and we've sort of, I guess the more experience we've had, the more that it became sort of viable, and the more we thought maybe we could possibly do this. So after, sadly, our venue shut, we played there for the last night, and, you know, we had a really special connection with them. We played there many times over our career. We approached Caroline and the venue saying, you know, you guys actually know what you're doing in this sort of field. You've run festivals before. Caroline been involved in sort of Rock Nest and Belladrum and The Gathering, Groove, and sort of laid out this idea. And she was up for it. So she was like, yeah, let's do this. So we kind of teamed up with them, and then very quickly after that teamed up with the brewery, with Black Isle Brewery themselves. And this has been in the pipeline for a wee while, and yeah, then announced kind of tail end of last year. And I think the lineup came out about a week ago, maybe.
I mean, you're really going at it, aren't you? I mean, just apart from yourselves, Hugh Morgan, Luca Lagoon, who I caught at Stirling, that was a gig and a half.
Yeah, I bet.
Wusa, who were on this podcast last time out. Many more. The Joshua Hotel, Valtos.
We kind of, I guess, obviously you talk about all these acts and, so many being named up. Like, you never know who you're going to be able to get. The fact that we've managed to get all these people to agree to come play our festival is just mind-boggling to me. And I'm like, it's all kind of people that we love listening to and we're fans of. And yeah, I actually can't wait. It's going to be class. It's a party at a brewery with so much good music. I just think what could be better than that. So yes, very, very excited about this.
I'm right in saying Ewan's from up that way as well.
Ewan's from the Black Isle, yeah. So the band, we're kind of all from the Highlands. I mean, we've got myself and Callum, the bass player, both Inverness. Ewan's Black Isle, and drummer Greg is made about a Dingwall kind of area. So yeah, we've been talking for a while. Like, it always made sense. The Black Isle always made sense to us as a location for this. Not just because of the links, but also just it's such a beautiful part of the world, and we've always had great shows there and all this. And it had to be in the Highlands, but for us, it always the Black Isle was what was calling to us. And yeah, it's a beautiful location for it. Like, out the back of the brewery, you've got the view of the brewery bill, so it's kind of surrounded by trees. It's a big field, and yeah, I just think it's going to be so fun. I really can't wait. It's a total genuine life ambition for us to have done this, so it feels quite surreal still.
May have been a frequent flyer to Black Isle for the odd half and pizza in my time as well. So
exactly, it's great. I mean, the Black Isle, that's where I go drinking there, and it's great beer, great pizza. To kind of be working with them is great, and yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to see those acts on the bill. Like, it's so many good names on there. I know I'm biased, but I think they're all brilliant. I can't wait to see them perform.
Well, in the interest of further research, we should probably meet for a pint and discuss it some more before it happens.
Exactly. Black Isle Bar.
But in the meantime, here's some quick questions just to send you on your way. What was the music of your youth, and do you still carry it with you?
Music of my youth. So I was very early on brought up on sort of folky stuff. My mum used to take me to see like Duncan Chisholm and Wolfstone and all these kind of bands. And then early teen, my dad got me onto Hendrix and AC/DC and all that, and I started playing guitar. And I still love that. And I guess, combining the two is what made sense to me, kind of guitar music and folk.
Last song or podcast you listened to before coming here today?
Oh, I listened to another podcast, was the News Agents, the political one. The last song I listened to was Charm of Finches, who are an Australian band, two sisters from Melbourne. They've got an album coming out. I think it might be this Friday. Middle of Your Mess is the latest single, and they're great harmonies, really cool stuff. Charm of Finches.
Would you choose to go to an exclusive album launch or a
festival? So much choice.
Favorite food in Ryder?
Favorite food? I mean, every time we arrive at a venue, generally speaking, I'll have apple or banana and some crisps. That's what I want to tuck into when I arrive usually.
If you could collaborate with anyone alive, when they're alive.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think I was obsessed with Hendrix when I was a teenager, so I think Hendrix would be very cool. But if I'm going to lie, maybe Christine or Punch Brothers, something like that, because that's a very mandolin-based answer, isn't it?
Restaurant, cinema, or lazy Sunday brunch?
I love a brunch. I do love a brunch.
Digital addict, or can you switch off?
Yes, I can switch off. I was definitely more of a digital addict. The last maybe 18 months or so, I've been purposefully not being so on my phone and laptop and things, and trying to read more again, which has been great. I've really enjoyed that.
One artist everyone should be listening to right now.
Oof. One artist everyone should be listening to right now. You know what? I went to see the rapper No Name in Manchester, female rapper, and I thought she was absolutely incredible, and I really liked the kind of the musically I like it as well. I think she's amazing. So I guess check out No Name. Although there's so many. I want to say a lot of names here, but I'm going to stick with No Name for now.
What does life after this career look like?
It's a great question. I mean, I guess touring's not going to last forever, and for many reasons. I think staying in the music industry is something I would love to do. I find a real kind of home in it. I think, something like, running a festival keeps you in an industry. I don't hate the idea of kind of more media sort of stuff around it, or even working with bands, but not playing myself in whatever realm that might be. But I think definitely staying within the music industry would be something I would be wanting to do.
From then to now, what was the good stuff in between?
The memories, the fun, the laughter. It's such a kind of laugh being on tour and doing a job with your best pals. I think does that sound cliche? I think it probably does, but being with your pals and kind of making a living out of that is such a joy.
The final question is very simple. This, from all the advice or helping hands that you've had along the way, what wisdom would you impart to people trying to make their own way in this incredible industry?
If you're playing, if you want to be in a band or play or release music or whatever, I think loving the music that you make is the most important thing. Because if you don't, you're going to get so sick of that and so bored of that, and you're not going to want to do it. This is a very fun, very rewarding, but also very life-consuming job. And if you don't enjoy what you do, you're really going to hate it a few years down the line.
Alasdair, an exciting year ahead. Thank you so much for taking the time out, and look forward to seeing you on the road sometime soon.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
Forgot to switch myself back on. The good stuff's in between the lines.
Massive thanks to Alasdair for giving up his time and such a comprehensive run through of their plans ahead and how they actually got together as a band to enjoy the success they do today. Also check out elephantsessions.com, where you can get tickets for the forthcoming tour, and keep an eye out for details of the festival happening in September, Black Isle Calling. It looks like it'll be an amazing event. I look forward to seeing some of you there. Today's episode was written, edited and produced by myself, Shaun Milne, at Skog Media Associates. Today's title music, as always, is from Willie Campbell, Nothing's Going to Bring Me Down. You can find out more from Willie at williecampbell.co.uk. If you'd like to get involved in the show, drop us an email at goodstuffstudios@pm.me. Find us on Instagram and on Substack at goodstuffinbetween. If you enjoyed today's show, please do give it a like on Spotify, share it to your social channels. In the meantime, look out for more coming soon, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.